Hello my gorgeous loves out there and welcome. In today's video, I am going to do another palette ranking with all of my melt palettes. I'm trying to go through all the brands that I have a lot of palettes and rank them so I can give you my thoughts and let you know which ones I think are the best of the best within a brand. But before we get into this video, if you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Bree and I'm just a crazy lover of all things beauty. And I like to post a lot of fun, colorful makeup content. I like to do a lot of indie makeup. So if that's what you're into, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. But with that being said, let's get into this video. Alright loves, so this video is probably going to be on the easier side for me since this one only has 7 palettes in it. I mean, 7 palettes is still a lot from one brand, but I have other brands that I have like way more palettes to rank, and a lot of those I like love so much, so it's hard to rank. But this one was kind of easy. Like I already know which ones are like my least favorite and which ones are like my most loved, and I like doing these kind of videos because I feel like it helps you out if you're like trying out the brand for the first time and you're trying to find like the perfect palette from the brand, and you're trying to see which ones are the best, which ones have issues, you know. That's why I like doing these kind of videos. And I happened to do this look today, which I did film, which will probably go up before this. I did a Shop My Stash, which I'll link it below and I'll put it in the corner, but I used one of the melt palettes that I'm gonna show you, and I was like, you know what? I should do my ranking today since I used that palette, and it just brought me back to like all my favorite like palettes from them and everything. So that is why I chose to do melt today. So before we dive in, please don't take anything personal if I happen to rank like your favorite palette at the bottom, and if I like happen to rank your least favorite one at the top. I mean, we can all have different opinions, agree to disagree, but we can still be friends here. I like to put that out there so no one takes it, you know, a certain way. So I think we should now just dive into this ranking. So at the bottom of the ranking, and this one was easy because there's some quality issues with this palette. So the one that I'm talking about is the Smoke Sessions palette, which I think in the video where I did like if I had to let one palette go from a brand, this was the one I mentioned for melt, which I'll link that video too below and put it in the corner if you want to check it out. But this has a really dud shade right here, which is this one called Black Widow. It has hard pan. Like, I try so hard to pick it up and it just doesn't do much on the eyes. Like now it's just like a sheer little like wash of color, and it's such a beautiful like mossy, dingy, like greeny brown, and I love those kind of colors, and it's so sad that I'm not able to really use it because it's just too hard pan at this point. And then this one only has 2 mattes, and that's the formula I love the most from Melt is their mattes. Their shimmers are okay, but they're nothing special. They're a little bit on the thick side, especially the ones in here, and they are pretty greens, but I have green metallics in my collection that I love even more. So really why I go to Melt is for their matte. So to only have 2 mattes in here makes it also like lower at the bottom for that reason, and then having that one that has hard pan and having a shimmer formula that's just okay. And this is mainly shimmers, but I do still use it and I do enjoy, you know, like the mattes in here and the greens. I just don't love this as much as the other ones that I have from Melt. Then the next one, which this one's pretty new to my collection, but there's a few reasons why this is at the bottom. So this is the Gemini II palette from Melt. Adore the packaging, it's beautiful, and I do think overall it's a very beautiful like burgundy pinky color story, pretty much close to what I have on my eyes. But overall this leans kind of dark. There's no real light shades to, you know, put in the inner corner. All of the metallics that are in here are very, very dark, and I like to have lighter shimmers to use like in the inner portion, just to have like some kind of like contrast. And just this leans dark, so I have to pull in other palettes to do a completed look with this, but I still do think it's pretty. I like that there's some greens in here, and the mattes are excellent, and that's what I really love. So I'm happy that this is predominantly mattes. I just wish that there was more of a range from light to mid-tone to darker shades, but it's still really good. That's just the only reason why. The color story is not perfect for me, and I don't often gravitate to these tones. I feel like these are shades I don't typically wear. Like I don't really wear these colors very often, but maybe I should. I'm more in like the greens, you know, blues, grungy kind of shades. So I feel like I won't reach for this as much as the other ones I'm going to show you either. So that is why it's where it's at. Then the next palette in the ranking, which this is really good, but I had to rank this here because I like the other palettes more. But this is the Blueprint palette. This is a half blue, half neutral palette, and this one also only has 2 mattes in it, and then the rest are shimmers. And like I said, their mattes are my favorite. That's what I really go to melt for. And their metallics are just okay. They're just more like traditional metallics. They're not shifty. They're not super extra sparkly. You're not gonna like be wowed by them, but they're just good standard metallics. And I do feel like the metallics in here are better than the Smoke Session one or like their earlier palettes. But I just wish that there were more mattes in here. Now it does have a good range. Like I do have 2 lighter metallics to use as the inner corner. You can go very neutral, or you can go very blue, or you can mix them together. So I do like that there are some options in here. I just wish that they had more mattes, and that is why it's where it's at on the ranking. Then the next one is just as good as a Blueprint one. The formula is amazing, but this is the She's in Parties palette, and the reason why this is above the Blueprint one is this one has more mattes in it, and the mattes are really good. I like that this is more cool tone, like a cool tone berry palette. But the mattes are absolutely stunning. This one has 3. And I do think the shimmers are really pretty, especially this Strange Love one I thought was really nice. It's like a dusty gray lavender. So I thought this was actually really pretty. I like this one too called Skeleton Keys because this one has like a pinky shift. And normally their shades don't have shifts to them. And then the other metallics are nice and creamy. And I just love my cool tones. So if I'm going to reach for like berry shades, I'd rather reach for these tones instead of the more reddish burgundy ones like the one I have on. I do wear these. I just would probably wear these more than like shades like this. But the only thing with this one is my looks are all going to look very similar. You can't do too much with this palette. It's all going to be a cool tone purpley berry look at the end of the day. I could go lighter, I could go darker, but they're still all going to look very similar. So I can't do too much with this. It's definitely more of a monochromatic palette. So that's why it's not like higher up. But I mean, it's pretty high. It's like right in the middle. Then the next one, which I really love because this is a grungy palette. So this is the Gemini palette, and I picked this up when I got the Gemini II palette. Now this one doesn't really have light shades either to really use as the inner corner highlight. It's more like mid-tone and deeper, but I love the tones of this one. I am more into grunge. Like I love these dingy, grungy shades, these like, you know, grungy yellow toned greens, this like mustardy kind of leaning green shade. Then these shades too, I don't know, I love it. The matte black in here is excellent, and there's a lot more mattes in here. There's only 2 shimmers, so I prefer that because like I said, I love their mattes. I swear by their mattes, and they're really good, and this is the good melt formula. I haven't had any issues with this. I just wish that there was some lighter shades, like maybe a pastel green or something really light that you could use in the inner corner, or like a light shimmer or like a light limey green. Oh, a limey green shade would have been beautiful in here, or like a really bright yellow gold too would have been really nice in here. So I wish they had that, but I just love these tones. I love a good grungy palette, so that's why it's, you know, up there. It's really good too. The formula is really nice. So then we're going to the top 2 palettes, and I've talked about both of these a lot. So if you've been watching me for some time now, you probably already know what's at the top. But number 2 in the ranking is the Melt Amor E Mariposa palette. This one is their bigger, more colorful palette. This is the biggest palette they've ever done. But it's like a grown sexy rainbow palette. It's not like the traditional primary colors. It has like more depth, a little bit more muted shades in here. And I do feel like the metallic formula is better in this palette. They're more foiled. Some of them are like flaky but intense. This Michoacan shade is beautiful. This Cheeto orange. I don't have any oranges like this in my collection, so I adore this shade. Then there's so much depth in here too. The matte formula is excellent. I love this row too. I just think overall this was so good. I love the variety in here, the formula, everything. There's so much I could do with this one. It's really good. That's why it's number 2. But I could not put this at number 1 because my most loved, most special palette that I've talked about so much, and so many people have loved and raved about this palette, and I think it's the most highly rated palette from Melt. But this is the Merete palette. This beautiful thing right here is so special that they actually brought it back just recently. And I think they brought it back before that because people just kept asking for this to come back, because so many people had FOMO that missed out on this, and hopefully those people ended up finally getting the palette. I'm not sure if it's still available on their website, and I'm not sure how long they're gonna have this available, but this is so special, and I'm so happy that they did bring it back for people to be able to get their hands on this. But I have to show you guys. Now, this is not like the most diverse palette, like it doesn't have that many different shades in here, but the mattes are so amazing in this. There's so much depth. They have a lot of pigment, but you can work with these. Like you can go in lighter and sheer them out if you need to, or you can make them super intense. Like this red, it looks like super in your face, but you can sheer this out to be a beautiful transition. And this is what's actually on my eyes. Like I have these 3 shades on my eyes. I have this like in my waterline over my liner to have that pop of mint, and then I use this with Clionadh shadows for that Shop My Stash. And doing that video just reminded me how much I love this palette, how good these mattes are. And then these like greener ones, and this gray one is excellent as well. This mint shade right here is so pigmented for being a mint. Like look how intense and vibrant that is. Like this is so good, and I wish all of their palettes could be this good. Like this is special. Like there's something special about this formula, and the packaging, the theming. Like people went crazy for this. People lost their shit for this palette, and it's totally warranted because this is so good. And I don't know if there'll ever be another one like this, at least in the Melt lineup. I don't know, because it's so good, so special, theming, everything on point. But that is why it is #1, and it will probably be always #1 for me. I am ride or die for that palette, and I will probably hold on to that one forever. But that was all of my palettes from Melt. That was all of my ranking and thoughts and why I put them where I did. Hopefully this video was helpful in letting you know what are some really good palettes, what are some like you could probably pass on palettes. But overall, I think they're all good. I don't think any of them are bad palettes or duds. I do enjoy having all of them in my collection. That is why I have not decluttered any of those. And look, I just swatched out that mint shade. Oh, that's sexy. But anyways, you will have to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about my ranking? Would you rank this differently? Like, what is your favorite Melt palette if you have one? I would love to hear from all of y'all. And if you're new here and you enjoyed this video, you like a lot of fun, colorful makeup content, you like a lot of stuff in indie makeup, then please hit that subscribe button and join this little family. I'd love to have you here. Also, don't forget to check out the description below. I will have all the palettes linked. I'll have any reviews I've done in any Melt palette link too if you want to get more information on any of these palettes. I will also have my makeup that I'm wearing linked, as well as my contact and my social media platforms. I'm also on Instagram as Breezy Lifestyle and Breezy_Beauty, and I post a lot of different content there as well, so definitely check me out. I would love for you to join my Instagram fam. But guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, for being here, supporting my channel, being amazing. I love you all so much, and I just hope you all are doing well wherever you are in the world, and I'm just sending you all so much light and love. But until next time, bye guys.